Hey guys, so today you and I are going to talk about picking your projects. So let's get into it. So the question in question was, Frederick, how do you pick your technical projects to advance your career? Well, I would say that it starts by figuring out what the industry is currently about, sort of what does the ecosystem look like, what are the issues of the industry and what is desirable to the industry, and then figuring out sort of what types of projects can I start doing or like involve myself with in order to make myself exposed to those sort of concepts. So an example would be if you're a front-end developer and you only know front-end, you want to expand your value to the market, well then becoming a full-stack developer would be a very natural next decision, because or you could also go into management, because the reality is that the box of like how much value a front-end developer, for example, doesn't have to be front-end, can be for back-end, etc. You're not actually going to advance your career once you have 1 to 5 years of experience as a front-end developer, you're never going to go above that box in terms of advancing your career unless you expand. You're going to stay there for basically the rest of the time that you spend in software development. You're definitely going to potentially earn more with experience, because you've become a unit of a worker, if that makes sense. You're a front-end developer, and then once you have the right skills, like the right tools and so forth, it's really just down to matching your profile towards the requirements of whatever company you're applying to, and then based on if you're a match or not, you're going to get paid based on years and personality and things like that. But you're not going to see like an enormous increase in responsibility and an enormous increase in salary just because you've met the requirements of that unit. And the same thing goes for, say, if you're a full stack developer or a back-end developer or something like that, or even a DevOps engineer. There's as I said, like, you're a unit of the worker. And so if you wanted to advance your career even further, it really, as I said, comes down to what more can you bring to the table? How can you increase your impact on the place of work to the point where you're actually no longer able to, well, it's very difficult to put you in a box, if that makes sense. I'll give you an example. So, and this is actually what happened to me. So there is when I started, I was educated as a backend developer. Then I went into frontend for a little while and did full stack development and so forth. So I've been around the block a little bit. And one of the things that I realized was that I had a weakness, and I mean, it's not like I'm a master of operations or anything like that, but the skills that I had not organically adopted were operations and DevOps related. And so I tried to establish myself more within that space in order to further like become a more well-rounded person. And and the reason behind that is very simple, because if you know front end, back end, and ops, then you basically know the foundation skills for everything that is happening in web development. It's not like, I'm not saying that you know everything, but I'm saying is that you can basically run an entire IT company conceptually. You can move to every team that is like, these are the core areas usually in every single software company. It's like the wheels of the car. They're always going to be there. And so with that role, and let's just also remember that usually, guys, there is 1 or 2 people who do this. That this is not something that you're not going to learn that as a junior. There's no way. It takes years of practice and dedication to actually get to be good at one of these things. But for me, these are the sorts of projects that I then involve myself with, which means that after learning how to do front end to a point where it's satisfaction, that people feel satisfied calling me an experienced software developer. Back end was the same sort of deal. I did back end until people felt that, yeah, you really know, yeah, we feel comfortable having you doing like serious back-end work. And then operations was, that's the next thing, right? That's the thing that you go into. And now, although I wouldn't say that I don't have any certificates or anything like that. I've taken the courses, but I didn't really actually get the certificates. It brings me to a point where if I, let's just say this, guys, at the last job I had, the role that they gave me was what we call they called this a staff engineer. And the official responsibilities that I have is basically go and make this gigantic change in our company happen. Establish this gigantic new way of working for multiple teams, because we can't just put you in one box anymore. And they're paying as this is where you get to be an architect level type of salary, or like this is where you get as high as you can get up if you still want to do any type of meaningful coding. And if you're going to go over this, you're basically at a point where now you have to run the entire digital landscape in terms of like you're actually not doing things in terms of coding anymore. You're just making decisions and meetings and aligning people and so forth. And you don't get to be that person, I can guarantee you that. You don't get to that level without, as I said, expanding the areas of your knowledge and the amount of value that you can bring into multiple areas. Because even if you're the best front-end developer in the world, the highest levels you could possibly get is like you become a manager of the front-end developers or so forth. It's very difficult to transition your career from something other than simply front-end. But when you get, as I said, to a point where you understand the whole process of software delivery and you can actually produce in all those areas, those projects. The projects that you can be fitted into are you become too valuable to just have in one role. And I have worked with other guys and girls like this, where they are so senior. They are what I call like true seniors, that it's a waste to have them just build like the front end or the back end, because their knowledge is so deep. They've been involved in so many projects that it's better for you to figure out who these people are and put them on projects which basically enables the rest of the company. This is sort of the idea behind this role, right? A staff engineer, you're basically at the point now where they don't even know anymore what to do with you. They trust, but you've proven yourself to the point where they feel comfortable saying, we're going to pay you a lot of money or like a good salary, and go and just figure out this problem. Come up with an idea for how to solve this problem. It's this equivalent of having an inventor, like some type of consultant who just goes, who you pay. We don't know how to solve this problem. We need it solved. Can you figure it out for us? It's literally that. That is what the level you can get to when you, so as I said, when you start thinking about how to round out your areas of expertise. And this is how I pick my technical projects these days. I've worked, as I said, you go through them and expand until you get to a point where you can no longer organically transition into anything. It really comes down to using your understanding of all of these things and figuring out these sorts of problems where, as an example, how do you one of my current challenges is, okay, how do you take a gigantic corporation's entire ecosystem of different services built in different eras, different time periods, different code bases, etc., and bind them together into a uniform platform that feels consistent and that seamlessly blend all these systems so that the end consumers have the same experience and the like automation is possible in between these sorts of systems, like optimization of workflows and so forth and so forth. There is no job description that you could possibly put in like an ad somewhere where you would get this. It would be the equivalent as it's not at this level, of course, but this is how systems like Kubernetes came to be, or React or Angular and so forth. You're talking about projects that are they're no longer possible to fit into this idea, oh, it's just a front-end project, or this is a product that we're developing for an end customer. They are so abstract that you basically have to invent a new way of doing something, or you have to think, be challenged to the point where you don't even know how to do this thing, and you might completely fail. There's no backlog, no nothing. You have to invent everything from scratch. You can't even go and find yourself a product owner for that stuff, because there's no product owner who has a job, that the job description where they're going to be able to say, yeah, let's change the foundation of how an entire company works, as an example. It's, as I said, it's literally the same thing as figuring out how to, take Golang as an example. You think that someone sat down and said, well, we're going to need you to build this programming language for an arbitrary reason. No, they had a problem that very, very, very talented engineers had to basically, they told them, hey, we have this thing that is a problem for us, how do we fix it? And their solution was, let's invent Golang, or let's invent Kubernetes, let's invent React, etc., etc. These are the sort of projects that I try to focus on. So what I want you to take away from this is that the way I pick my technical projects in order to advance my career is that I went through the list. Basically, I started with one area, tried to learn that so I could do that at a professional level, and then I went through it until I could do the main stuff. And now it's really down to more creative projects, if that makes sense, because I won't grow, like I don't, I've already done all the other stuff. I've built most projects that you can think of, like in terms of basic product. So now it's really about what is the challenge in the product itself, what are we building, what is like the abstract idea of this thing, and how much autonomy do I get in order to fix this thing? Because these sorts of problems, as I was trying to say, a front-end developer is not going to solve that problem. A back-end developer is not going to solve that problem. An ops person is also not going to solve it. The only person who will be able to do this is literally someone who can work basically completely autonomously, and then you need to, of course, synchronize and get like buy-ins from a lot of people and lobby and do presentations and all that stuff. But you basically need an individual, or you need to have a skill set that is so broad that you can make this thing happen for an entire company. It is equivalent to solving an issue that no one could go to school and learn this. It's something where you've had to basically do all the basics, and now it's time for you to, well, I'm not saying research level stuff, but it is literally the same sort of challenge. There is no textbook for this stuff. These projects are basically just an experiment to see if it can be done, yes or no. And if it can't be done, or if you do a bad job, they basically go, yeah, we've stopped believing in that you have the capacity to fix this problem. We don't want to pay you to do this anymore. Go and do something else. Or like your punishment, quote unquote, becomes to go back and just do regular old product development. These are the sort of projects that I try to focus on myself. And if you want to have that level of autonomy, one part is that you have to build up a lot of trust with the people that just are hiring, because you won't be able, most likely, to find like a company who sets out an ad, hey, we have this gigantic internal problem, or like this very abstract thing we're trying to do, please come and help us. Although that would be pretty cool if people started using that. They might get some really serious people if they did that. Like nobody's gonna do something like that. Usually they're just looking for someone to fill the ranks, if that makes sense. And so you have to know some people that have these issues, and if you do, you can get to do some really pretty cool stuff. And that's basically at least what I try to focus my time on, and that's where I am right now. I can basically do anything, but I still have to prove that I'm effective at what I do, which is different, because I can't just shake my hands and say, no, I was just doing what I was told, because I'm not told to do things. I'm asked to produce results, and if those results are not good, I don't have anybody to blame. That's the sort of stakes that I like. Have a great day.